All right. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Bodhi Day. So, welcome. Hi there. Come on in. Get comfortable somewhere. We're here for a special event tonight, but we'll see how this goes, and then we can talk about if we want to continue this after the first of the year. So, enjoy the space. Let me know what you think about it and everything. Look at the stream later. I know you're here in person, but go to YouTube and look at it so that you can tell me what you think, so you can see yourself on TV, all those kinds of things. All right. So the order of service is, there's a couple of slight differences from what is printed out, because I printed it out and then I realized I made a couple of mistakes. So do what I say, not what the paper says. We're going to start with the usual openings that we do, and then we'll meditate. And then, because it's Bodhi Day, we're going to do a longer chanting service than usual. So we'll start with the homage to the Buddha after we meditate, and then we'll go from there. There's people ringing bells and banging on the drums that haven't done that in almost 2 years now. So there will be the occasional train wreck, and that's okay. We're Buddhists, we can handle it. All right? So we'll begin with the verse of the Kesa. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, liberating all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, liberating all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, liberating all creations. Gata of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. Please stand. Three bows. The fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us. It fills our sacred space, guards our minds from wrong thinking. The fragrance of this incense unites us with virtue, mindfulness, and wisdom. We offer it on behalf of all beings. Be seated. So we'll do 20-minute silent meditation. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Can I just say it's really nice to hear people chanting that along with me for once? I'm so used to just sitting in my office and it's just me and the dogs. Gata opening the sutta. The Dharma is incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is rarely encountered even in millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive it, and maintain it. May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Heart Sutra with bells and drums. Mahapranya Paramita Hridaya Sutra Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva doing the Pranya Paramita perceived the emptiness of all five conditions and was freed of fear. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is precisely emptiness, emptiness precisely form. Sensation, perception, reaction, and consciousness are also like this. O Shariputra, all things are expressions of emptiness, not born, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, neither waxing nor waning. Thus emptiness is not form, not sensation or perception, reaction or consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, thing, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, no into ignorance, no old age and death, no cessation of old age and death, no suffering, cause or end to suffering, no path, no wisdom, and no gain, no gain. Thus bodhisattvas live this pranya paramita with no hindrance of mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear, far beyond all such delusion. Nirvana is already here. All past, present, and future Buddhas live this pranya paramita and attain supreme perfect enlightenment. Therefore know that pranya paramita is the holy mantra, the luminous mantra, the supreme mantra, the incomparable mantra by which all suffering is cleared. This is no other than truth. Therefore set forth the pranya paramita mantra. Set forth this mantra and proclaim gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha, gate, gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisvaha, Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisvaha. The Buddha turns the Dharma wheel, and so reality is shown in all its many forms. He frees all suffering sentient beings and awakens them to great joy. We sincerely ask the beneficent guidance of the three treasures. In reciting the heart of the Prajnaparamita Sutra, we dedicate its merits to all ancestors of this Sangha, all beings in the Dharma world, and all those in suffering and sorrow, to the peace of the world, the peace of this temple, the strength and sound practice of its members, to the restoration and health of the natural world, its waters, plants, and creatures, into all efforts in its service with gratitude. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance. Let all karma be resolved in the mind, flower, bloom, and eternal spring. May we all ascend to the throne of enlightenment and realize the enlightened way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Mahaprajna Paramita, all Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Mahaprajna Paramita, all Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Mahaprajna Paramita. The Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, burdened with duties, frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. Metta prayer. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. We could actually use the drum on this if you'd feel up to it. Same cadence. Gate of sweet nectar. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami. Being one with the Buddha in the 10 directions, being one with the Dharma in the 10 directions, being one with the Sangha in the 10 directions, being one with all the formless forms throughout space and time, being one with our original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, being one with the great Manjusri Bodhisattva, being one with Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, being one with the great compassionate Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, being one with the Mahaprajna Paramita, being one with the unconditioned Tathagata, being one with the boundless Tathagata, please nourish and sustain us, being one with the inconceivable body Tathagata, let the nectar of Dharma spring forth, being one with all Buddhas in turning the water wheel of compassion. Namo Avalokiteshvara, Namo Avalokiteshvara, Namo Avalokiteshvara. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now and reciting the sutras, hearing the Dharma and training the mind. Great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, to the 16 guardians and all protectors of the Dharma and their relations throughout space and time, to all ancestors of the Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance. Let all karma be resolved and the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of the Sangha. Let their vows be fully realized and may they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, those working toward the healing of those afflictions, and for those who grieve. We pray for those suffering from violence, for those living in oppression, for all who are imprisoned, and for all refugees. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. We say this one time slowly. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Mahaprajna Paramita. That felt good. We should do this again sometime. So I'm actually going to record my talk because I need more material for the podcast. So I skipped a couple of weeks. I wasn't speaking anywhere, and as a result, I ended up having to scrounge together stuff. So give me a minute. So, happy Bodhi Day. So, Bodhi Day, for those of you who don't know, is the celebration, the acknowledgement, commemoration of the Buddha's awakening, of his enlightenment. And, so the question comes up periodically, what does that mean? What does it mean to be awakened? And honestly, there are sort of different objectives and different explanations in different traditions, and maybe one of these days I'll talk about that. There's experiences where people have sudden awakenings, and then there's the gradual awakening and that sort of stuff. You might have some of these experiences, and you might not. But we do know that if we live an enlightened life, we'll find ourselves in a more enlightened world. And so that's something that we do know. If we do the things that the Buddha said to do in order to wake up, that we'll live a more enlightened life. So when he talked about what it meant to be enlightened, the Buddha spoke in terms of 7 factors: mindfulness, keen investigation of the Dharma, effort, happiness, calm, concentration, and equanimity. So it's interesting, a lot of times you hear people talk about enlightenment and you think of it as this thing that happens to you. And these really are more like things that you do, things that we do, ways that we live in order to awaken ourselves and our lives. So I'll go through these 7 factors and we'll talk a little bit about how to do these things. So mindfulness is the first. And, you hear that term an awful lot, I know. But it basically means being aware of what's going on in the present moment. But that doesn't mean it's enough to just be in the moment. You also need to be aware of what you're doing mentally, verbally, physically. So you awaken to the full impact and importance of your actions. So you think about that as this kind of light shining into the darkness. What does it mean to wake up? It means we see the light, right? We see, in enlightenment. We bring light to this. So this is the light, the realization that we don't have to continue making ourselves and others unhappy. We can bring light to our world by retraining our mind, by paying attention more skillfully to how we create stress mentally and how we create stress in our relationships around us. So people will talk about mindfulness in terms of meditation techniques and things like that, and those are good, and that's useful, and that's true. But practices like Nikon, which many of you have done, where you're looking at how you're supported by the world, the blessings that you receive, the balance between what you give to the world with your actions and the trouble you cause, being aware of those things, those are also mindfulness practices, and that's part of this awakening process. So the second factor is keen investigation of the Dharma. So this word Dharma has different meanings. And often when you hear that word here, it refers to the teachings of the Buddha. But Dharma also means phenomena. So by keen investigation of the Dharma, we really mean understanding reality in light of the Buddha's teachings so that we see reality as it is, which means we look deeply into phenomena until we understand that the universe is constantly changing and all phenomena are subject to causes, conditions, and effects. So one of the first things that we learn to do is to stop clinging to the ways that we define ourself and the selves of others and the goodness or badness of things and conditions. If we're deciding to judge something as good, bad, or indifferent, we're really engaging in a process that's not worth doing. People get hung up in Buddhism about the idea of non-attachment, because you're not supposed to attach. But what does that mean? And it can be easy to think that it means indifference, but it really means to not judge. Why does anything, a person, an inanimate object, a condition, need to be judged? They're not likely to react one way or another to our judgment anyway. So why go through the exercise? So part of the process of enlightenment is to understand that things are as they are. Suchness. That's what that means. So we can love them, we can hate them, but if we're disturbed, it's our doing. It's because we're expecting something that's not there. And we're not just expecting it, but we're insisting on it. And it's the same with our bodies, with our minds, with our moods, and so on. They're all impermanent. They're all not really ours to control. They're all stressful, and that's it. We drop the judgments because it's just not worth doing. So sometimes, people will tell me Buddhism is negative because there's all of this, don't do this stuff. But think about it. There's flowers up here. We know a flower is only going to look like that for a few days. I got those at the supermarket, so probably 2-3 days they'll start to drop. And so they're inconstant, and no amount of ordering it to do otherwise is going to change that. I can buy flowers, but they're not really my flowers. I can't make them not decay. They're going to become compost no matter what I think about them. If I expect them to be otherwise, that'll be stressful. But if I can just accept that this is the nature of flowers, then I can appreciate their beauty when they're fresh, and I can appreciate their value as compost for next season's flowers. There's a saying in Zen, when you're enlightened, the trees and rocks are also enlightened. And so when you wake up your mind, you're really bringing light to the world. So yes, there's stress and inconstancy and all of that, but there's also beauty because of that, because of stress and inconstancy. If the days didn't get shorter as the earth moved around the sun, they wouldn't get any longer. If the growing season didn't end, there wouldn't be a next one. So the third factor, energy or effort, means really putting our effort toward our freedom. The Buddha revealed a path. His example can serve as an object of faith, as a refuge. But the exhortation, be islands unto yourselves, be your own refuge, means that it's up to us to travel the path. People talk to me about being a teacher. And it's occurred to me over the last couple of years, you can't teach. You can offer guidance. You can say, here's what I did that works and all of that. But if you're going to get this, if you're going to practice your Buddhism, it'll have to be through what you do. I can't do it for you. Nobody can do it for you. You have to travel this path. It's your path. So this means an ongoing effort of eradicating harmful thoughts that have arisen, preventing the arising of harmful thoughts, developing those things that are good and helpful, promoting the growth of the good that already exists. And so that means we not only have to be mindful and understand what's going on, but be diligent. Think about what the Buddha said when he sat under the Bodhi tree. Anybody know? He said, my blood may dry up and my bones may crumble to dust, but I won't rest until I have awakened. That's a real commitment there. He says, I'm going to do this until I'm there. And I do this too. It's like, I think I'll rather sleep in than meditate this morning. Or Dee Dee wants to get in my lap. It's like, it's a lot more fun to pet Dee Dee than to meditate. Dee Dee's my dog, by the way, for those of you who don't know. Just in case you were wondering who Dee Dee was. So anyway, we do these two things. We abandon the ways we create difficulties for ourselves, and we cultivate ways that we create happiness for ourselves. So the fourth factor of enlightenment, I'm going to say happiness. The Pali term used, if you read about this in the Pali Canon, is kind of related to bliss. It really means feeling good about what you're doing. And we tend to think of happiness as something that happens to us because we get what we want or something like that. But really, it's something we have to do. We cultivate it by learning to recognize the difference, for one thing, between pleasure and real bliss, real happiness, contentment, things like that. Pleasant feelings are momentary and fleeting. Enjoy them, that's fine. But don't let your happiness depend on externals. We want a happiness that is resilient, but we also want to feel the good feelings that arise as a result of our practice. It's always a surprise to people at some point when all of a sudden their mind settles down during meditation and they have that blissful feeling arise the first time. It's like, oh, I didn't realize this was in there. But when you get that, you start getting these feelings of freedom when you suddenly realize what the Heart Sutra means, or some piece of it, for the first time. And you realize, oh, this wakes me up. This is what it means to live this life. It feels good. And when it feels good, you want more of it. And so you do more of it. And so happiness and energy really feed one another. So, a lot of times you'll hear Zen teachers say, well, don't expect anything. You shouldn't expect to get anything out of this. And that's true. Because once you start expecting something, you'll be looking for it and you'll keep yourself from getting it. But there is some real low-hanging fruit that arises as a result of living an enlightened life, which is that we do get to feel better as a result. And that's a fine thing. It kind of related to that of the fifth and sixth factors of enlightenment, calmness and concentration. Calmness comes from having an orderly mind. And concentration lets you maintain your calm even when the world around you is anything but orderly. To concentrate means to steady the mind. If you're calm, it's easier to concentrate. If you concentrate, that calms the mind. So those two things really support one another. And they provide fuel and stability for that happiness that arises. The final factor of enlightenment is equanimity, which means being able to encounter the changes and difficulties of life without letting our minds waver. The mind, one of the metaphors I've seen is something like a gyroscope. It's not like this. This just sits there. It's more like a gyroscope. A gyroscope is active, but because of its activity in a certain way, it's stable. It doesn't move. It keeps its balance no matter what happens to the foundation it rests on. Equanimity, again, doesn't mean indifference. It means acceptance. It means understanding karma comes into play, understanding that things are as they are. If you understand cause and effect, you see the reality the way it is, and all of the shoulds and shouldn'ts that disturb us can start to fall away. So, suppose you have an awakening, a total one, or one of those aha moments where the Dharma suddenly lights up the darkness just a little bit for you. What do you do? So there's a Zen story, it's one of my favorite ones, about a young monk who's on the brink of realization. His master recognizes this. He knows he's right there, ready to have a kinsho, this feeling of opening up and awakening. But he sees he's having a lot of trouble getting there. So the monastery is at the base of a mountain. And the master tells him, go up to the top of the mountain and sit there and don't come down until you've enlightened. And so the monk gathers his things that he'll need for whatever period of time he's up there, and he begins walking up this steep trail toward the mountaintop. And he's going up this pretty narrow path, and he encounters this old man coming down the other way. He's got a bundle of sticks on his shoulders. And so they kind of try to jockey around each other a little bit, and they realize this is a good time to sit down and rest. And so they sit down and rest for a moment, and they start to chat a little bit. Well, as often happens in these stories, the old woodcutter guy was actually a bodhisattva who had come down from heaven in human form to help this monk awaken. The monk doesn't know this, of course. So the old fellow, he asks this young monk, says, where are you going? And the monk explains. And then he asks the woodman, he says, hey, what do you think about this enlightenment thing anyway? And the old guy stands up and he drops his sticks and they scatter on the path. And at that moment, he is awake. The young man is awake. And he just kind of stands there just soaking in it for a minute. And then he says, okay, I'm enlightened. What now? And the bodhisattva gathers up the sticks, puts them on his shoulder, and continues down the path toward the village. So that's what you do. You continue down your path. There's this concept that we talk about, Buddha nature. And sometimes we'll hear that the goal of practice is to reveal this innate quality, this true nature. But really, what does that mean to say we have Buddha nature? It simply means that we can wake up. There's no need for the sky to open up and a shaft of light to shine down on us or anything like that. We just simply need the awareness that we have the freedom, moment by moment, choice by choice, to live a more enlightened life. So, one of my Dharma ancestors back there in the hundreds of years ago, Zen Master Dogen, pondered this question of Buddha nature. He said, if we all have Buddha nature, why do we have to sit with our eyes closed or stare at a wall or do all these bows? Why do we have to do all this stuff if we have Buddha nature? And then he realized one day, that is Buddha nature. Doing those things, living that way, living the enlightened life is Buddha nature. So when you've awakened to that, well, what do? You start to become released from the patterns that weigh you down. And like that young monk, you keep going. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Happy Bodhi Day. At White Sands, they clap. You don't have to clap. I actually think it's a little weird, on the podcast, I usually finish the talks by saying, thank you for your attention. And they burst into applause and they ring the bell and all of that. And so one of my colleagues at work was like, why do they clap when you finish talking? That's so weird. It actually is a little hard to get used to. But anyway, thank you for being here. Any questions or comments before we close? What time is it? Just about time. Yeah. When I was looking at Bodhi Day on Google, it was saying that it's January 10th. Why would it say that? It said Bodhi Day was January 10th. Different cultures use different calendars. So in Japan, they, at some point in the past, I'm not sure when, they decided to use the same calendar as we do. And so they use the term Rohatsu, which literally means the 8th day of the 12th month. So anyway, December 8th is when it ends up. But different cultures celebrate at different times based on that. And Google was wrong. No, that's why. All right, so we have one more little chant to do. These are the Great Vowels. So I'd like for us to do these 3 times. The first time, do it sort of a normal volume. The second time, do it loud. The third time, whisper. Okay? Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Friends, I respectfully remind you, life and death are of supreme importance. Time swiftly passes by. Each of us must strive to awaken. Awaken. Take heed. Do not squander this life. Thank you. So stand and do 3 bows before you walk away, please. To the Buddha. One bow to the teacher. And bow to each other. All right.